All right, welcome to Module 1, Safety and Soft Skills. So I do want to clarify something right off the bat. There are no objectives that are specifically geared towards safety for this course, but being as though this is a construction field operations course where we are explaining different processes, procedures, protocols, all that stuff for proper field operations, we did find it necessary to at least include information about safety, as that is always the number one priority of any job site. So for our traditional in-person delivery of this course, this is what we consider our internship prep class, where we go through a lot of instructional stuff on what kind of activities an intern would be doing for a project. So going through punch lists, going through scheduling, meeting minutes, meeting agendas, stuff like that. For the online course, so then going back to the in-person one, then safety obviously becomes a major factor with all of that. But for the online course, like we mentioned, it's a little bit different. We're not going to have as much of that assignment work as we would in a traditional course. It's going to be a lot more of resources, readings, stuff like that, with a few guided assignments and discussions throughout. So, but just want to make sure that everyone understands safety is always a priority. We want to make sure that we want to provide you information on, some generic stuff. There's advanced courses on safety that we offer, and just always something that if in general, you see something, you say something, make sure you learn your safety protocols, make sure you understand site-specific safety plans, and make sure you are always in charge of safety. It's everyone's responsibility at all times. But with that, there are no quizzes or assignments or anything based on it. Now, it doesn't mean that discussions and assignments you can't include stuff like safety, because when we get into like logistics and stuff like that, clearly safety is a major priority, and that's why a logistics plan is so important. But again, it's mostly just for resources at this time. You're not going to be quizzed on it or assigned or anything with the assignments in this module. So going down to soft skills here, the biggest thing we want to emphasize is communication. That's why we put this module first, because written communication, verbal communication, just your presence, how you handle yourself, all different ways of, those are all different ways of communicating, and that is a major, major thing in our industry and really any industry. So as you're doing your assignments, as you're doing your discussion posts, as you're doing, you'll have to do a voice thread presentation later on, your ability to communicate clear, concise messages, making sure that everything you are producing is high quality, so that all of the message that you're trying to get across can be received. So that's it's a big overlying theme of this entire course, and really everything that you do from here on out in throughout the program. So just make sure your written communication is very solid, your verbal communication is very solid. Don't be afraid of contacting people. Don't be afraid of picking up the phone and calling people. If you have a question for anything in this course, the clearer you can be with your communication, the better, all throughout. So make sure to take a good look in that, and make sure to emphasize that everything you're trying to do. Another big overlying theme with the course is leadership motivation. Same thing with ethical decision making. They kind of all end up going hand in hand. It's because, obviously being a construction management course, construction management program, you are all going to be in leadership roles. So understanding different methodologies, understanding importance of being a good leader, whatever a good leader might mean to you, and understanding your team that you're leading is a very important thing, and understanding how motivation works, and different chains of thought on that one too, with how motivation can work. But all that kind of leads into then ethical decision making, and really understanding what ethics is kind of goes back to how well you understand what your contract documents are, and understanding what your rights are as a contractor or construction manager, being able to make those decisions based on your leadership, based on contract obligations, so just really important things to focus on within this course. And then obviously there's the underlying, or I should say overlying arching theme of the diversity, equity, inclusion. So we have a couple different resources on the DEI stuff. One is created in-house by us, the other one with one of our external partners, Mortensen Construction out of Minneapolis. They provided a lecture and they want us to be able to use that as well within our courses. So we provided that information too. So just more resources available here that will lead you into how you're going to handle your discussion post and your soft skills. So your soft skills quiz is really just a lot of terminology based stuff, so making sure you're going through all of the lectures and the readings. When it comes to the soft skills and case studies, you're kind of taking information learned throughout the resources up above and reviewing these case studies and posting. So let's pop into this discussion really quick. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You're basically just reviewing some situations. There's some case studies provided. You're going to read through them, and then for each one of those case studies, you're going to answer these 4 questions. So this first question says, answer the question or questions at the bottom of the particular case study. So if you read case study 1, at the bottom there's usually 1 or 2, I think one of them might have 3 even, just questions in there. So just make sure when you're clicking on this to add a new discussion topic, you're highlighting which question you're answering. Be very thorough, be very at the same time, be very concise. Make sure you're clear in your communication. So you're doing this for each one of these different situations. They're very short. They're only, I think, 1 to 2 pages each. I'll just pull it. Oh, I went all the way back to the top. But so for an unsettling situation, for instance, if you pull that up, it's only 1 page. So really quick review of a situation. These are actual real situations as well. Just names change, a couple minor things change. And then at the bottom, like I showed you before, there's a quick question. What would you do? So kind of give us the overall summary of one keeps going back to the top. Sorry about that. But you're answering the question just to kind of give that basic summary of what would you do in that situation, and then understanding what are the perceived consequences, risks associated with your decision. Why or how did you benefit from the decision or the benefits of your decision outweigh the risks? So kind of a 2-step question there. And then how would you communicate your final decisions to the pertinent parties? So making sure you're understanding other perspectives, you're seeing what's going to be taking place, what kind of external responses you might get and how that might affect some things. And then it kind of leads into your 4th question. So like I said, each one of these case studies is very short, and you're just kind of answering these all together. So as you're adding a new one, what I'd like you to do, if this pops up here, oh, there you go. You write your subject, so you can just say discussion post 1, or you can call it whatever you want, because it's just going to pop up on my end the same way anyways. But I'd like you to put case study 1 and then the title. And then as you're answering questions, you can just click this little ordered list here, and you can answer number 1. What would you do? And then write that out, right? Number 2, number 3, number 4, all the way throughout. What would you do? Right, and I'll go through that right all the way down, and then you go to case study 2, title, and do the same thing, right? Same questions, and just answer those out all the way through. Once you're done, you'll click to post to the forum, and then the other part of this is responding to your other classmates as well, because a lot of some of the best way of learning is bouncing ideas off of people and seeing different perspectives and understanding. So making sure that sometimes things get a little bit unethical, or perceivably, I don't know if that's a real word, but you perceive things as being unethical or immoral or something like that. So everyone has different understanding, different perspective, different points of view. So make sure that you keep everything cordial. Make sure you're trying to provide constructive criticism, or what I like to call advancing the thought, getting more depth, right? So that we're not just agreeing with someone and saying, yeah, I think it's a great idea, and being done with it. I'd like you to explain why that's a good idea, what else can be done, what other considerations come into that idea to try to advance the conversation, because that's what we start to really learn some things about each other and how to be good leaders and how to make good decisions. So that's kind of the big thing with module number 1. and then obviously the quiz. So the dates again are in the calendar, each one of these different items. So as you click on quiz 1, it'll show you, when the actual quiz or assignment or whatever closes, how much time you have to do it. What I like to do for my quizzes is allow 2 attempts, and I take the average grade because I want you to get in. I want you to do as much as you possibly can with all of the coursework prior to taking the quiz. Do as best as you can on that quiz, but then afterwards you'll have some time you can review it and then learn from it. Because again, I'm a big fan of feedback and making sure you can see that and then implement that later, because that's where I think you really get to hammer home some of those concepts. Um, and I think that's pretty much it for this section. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out anytime. Other than that, I will see you again for module number 2.